All right, Ghost University. I've been waiting to do this video for a little while. Today I have a video from a man named Yuval Harari. He's written a couple books. I don't know the names of them. I don't particularly care to know the names of them. But his understanding is the self is the highest form of understanding. And he's going to tell you that if two people have a dispute, that the highest form of understanding is still the self. He never tells you how to settle your dispute if you both have an argument. Throughout history, the way it's been solved, on a grand scale anyway, is might makes right. You have a war, and then whoever wins the war must have been right. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's how things are going to be, or have been in the past, and are going to be in the future. Might makes right. But I'll let him discuss his feelings on the self being the highest form of understanding. And don't let me fail to mention, he's also going to tell you that in the classroom, the child is the highest form of understanding. So that means every child in the classroom has the highest form of understanding. Because much like Kanye West said, you can't tell me nothing. Get it? Because the self is the highest form of understanding. Hey, I used to listen to Kanye. I still might listen to Kanye sometime. But his understanding's flawed. All our understandings can be flawed on occasion. But to say that the self is the highest form of understanding is a great misrepresentation of the truth. Anyway, let's let Yuval talk.
Professor Harari is a good friend of mine and a professor in the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He's been teaching a history class, an introductory history class for undergrads for quite a few years. And at some point he decided that it would be a good idea to compile the lecture notes to a book so that the life of his students will be a little bit more easy. So he wrote the book, and then what happened later was completely unplanned. The book became a bestseller in Israel. It was the top bestseller in the non-fiction books for a few months. Then translations to foreign languages came. The book has been translated to 30 languages. It's being sold now in Europe, most of the European countries, and in Canada with great success. And now it's coming to the US. And fortunately, that was our chance to bring Yuval here to visit us also and to give the talk at Google. So I'm really happy to introduce him. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here also, not only to visit Ran and Ariel, but also to be in Silicon Valley, which for me is a kind of special place as a historian. As a historian, I focus mainly on the history of ideas, ideology, mythology, religion. And I think that the most interesting place in the world today, in religious terms, is Silicon Valley. Not the Middle East, not Syria or Afghanistan or Israel or Jerusalem, but Silicon Valley. This is where the new religions that will take over the world are being formulated. And this will also be the topic of my talk for the next hour or so.
I didn't say that the new religions are being formed in Silicon Valley. He did. Now the question is, everyone says that, hey, religions are man-made. Won't this new religion be man-made too? What's going to make it any better than the religions that people already have? Is it the fact that there'll be lots of technology behind it? Or how about lots of algorithms behind it? Where the algorithms will be the truth instead of the people? Or how about the masses of people that have decided that the algorithms seem to be the truth, and since those are the truth, then those are what we're going to live by? Hey, there was a movie called Minority Report. Kind of covers this subject already. But anyway, let's go back to Yuri talking.
About the new religions of the 21st century. But in order to understand the future of religion, we first have to say a few words about its past and its present. And I would like to start with asking describing what is the main religion or ideology, worldview, of the world today, in the middle of the second decade of the 21st century. And I think we can say that the dominant ideology of the world at present is liberal humanism, or in short, liberalism. Liberalism is a worldview and ideology that thinks that the source of all authority and all meaning in the universe is the individual human, the individual of the species Homo sapiens. Liberalism has several core ideas. First of all, it believes in the individual. It thinks that every Homo sapiens is an individual, which literally means it cannot be divided. The meaning of the term individual is that you cannot divide it. The idea is, yes, of course you can divide the human body or the human brain, but within each individual, there is kind of a seed of light, a spark that cannot be divided further. Within each of us, there is this inner voice, and this inner voice in each and every one of us is the source of all the meaning and all the authority in the world.
So, shouldn't it be up for debate when people say, that was God talking to me? I heard God, and this is what God said to do. I bet Yuval Harari would say, no, that's your own inner voice that gives you the authority to do the things that you know you need to be doing. Now, I'm not on either side of that debate, because I'm sure when some people say that that's God, that's definitely that inner voice, their own thoughts that are telling them what they want to hear, what they want to believe, so they can go ahead and do whatever they want to do. So, both of those points of view are just straight goofy. Anyway.
Whenever we face a difficult question, a difficult dilemma, choice in life, as individuals or as collectives, liberalism tells us, listen to yourself, connect to yourself, try to hear this inner voice within yourself, and it will tell you what to do. And listen to that, not to anything else. The second main idea or hypothesis of liberalism is that this inner voice within ourselves comes out of a space of complete freedom. Yes, there are influences, constraints from outside, physical, social, biological, but if we go deep enough within ourselves, we will come eventually to a space of complete freedom. And from this space, we need to make our big decisions in life. Thirdly, based on these two ideas or two assumptions, liberalism assumes that only I can really know myself. Nobody else, no outside person, no outside system can really know who I am. Because again, who I am really is this inner voice which enjoys complete freedom. So I'm inaccessible from outside. Based on these ideas, the main value of liberalism, which gives it its name, is liberty, freedom. We need to preserve the freedom of the individual to think, to feel, and to act according to what he or she thinks and feels, because again, this is the supreme source of authority and meaning in the world. Now, all this may sound very abstract and very theoretical.
He forgot to mention very godless. And in fact, down the road, he will tell you that this point of view, once again, doesn't involve the ideas of God. He says that idea is played out, and nobody's living by that idea anymore. Or at least the people in Silicon Valley and other places, they certainly aren't living off of that idea, are they? They're making their own new religions.
So I would like to give a few concrete examples of what liberalism means in practice to our lives as individuals and as collectives. If you think about the field of politics, So what is liberal politics? What is liberalism translated into political terms? You get a democracy with elections and so forth. If we want to know who should rule this country, what kind of economic policies to adopt, what kind of foreign policy to adopt, to make war or to make peace, who should we turn to in order to get answers? We should turn to the inner voices of each individuals. So we have elections, and on election day, everybody goes by himself or by herself, and at least theoretically, tries to connect. I try to connect to myself, to listen what is my deepest feelings, what are my deepest personal thoughts about this issue, and I vote accordingly. And this is how we know who should rule the country, whether to make peace or war, and so forth. So this is liberal politics, which argues that the voter knows best. There is no source of authority higher than the voter. You get the same ideas also in the economic field. What is liberal economics? Liberal economics is the view that the customer is always right. There is no higher authority than the authority of the individual customer. How do we know if a product is a good product? If the customers buy it. There is no other method. There is no higher authority that can say, yes, they didn't buy it, but it's still good. Let's say we are planning a car, and we are organizing a committee of the wisest people on the planet. We take Nobel laureates in physics and chemistry and literature and peace and whatever, and they come together for 5 years with a lot of money, a lot of helpers, and they design the perfect car. And after 5 years, you start producing this perfect car, engineered, invented by the wisest people on the planet, and it goes on sale, and nobody buys it, or very few people buy it. It means that this car is not a good car, according to the tenets of liberal economics. Or perhaps, but eventually you cannot blame the customer. Oh, we produced a perfect car, and we did a perfect PR campaign, but the customers, they are stupid. They don't understand what is good for them. This works in communism, for example. This is the idea of communism. You have really wise people sitting in Moscow. They plan the car which they think is best, and everybody, at least if they are fortunate, get this car. And if they don't like it, it's their problem. But not in liberal economics. In liberal economics, the highest authority in economics is the customer.
Note to self, do not contact Yuval Harari about any business plan. So, do you guys remember when the father of what's the brother's name? LeVar Ball, Lamar Ball, whatever the father's name is of them other young brothers who play basketball, whoever the father is. He made some shoes called BBB. It was called Big Baller Brand. And the price of the shoes was $500. And some people saw the shoe and they was like, why you price this shoe that high? Who do you expect to buy them? Or who do you expect to buy them? You know, who do you expect to buy them? That's the lady saying, right? And so, with a $500 pair of shoes, he heard what the public said. And some people thought that the shoes weren't worth $500. Now that might be true, but the creator of the shoe thought it was worth $500. You know, if you just run about asking everybody what they think your product should be or look like, doesn't that turn it into someone else's invention other than your own? So now I might have to include everybody in getting payment for my idea now because I done listened to 2,000 people about how my shoe should look, be priced, be packaged, and marketed? Anyway, yeah, I wouldn't be trying to listen to this brother tell me nothing about business.
You got the same ideas in the field of art and aesthetics. Many times in history, many periods, many cultures, people had ideas what is art and what is beauty. And they thought that there are some objective definitions, objective yardsticks to determine whether something is art and whether something is good art. And then comes along liberal art and liberal aesthetics in the 19th, 20th century. And just as in politics, the voter knows best, and in economics, the customer is always right, so in liberal art also, the customer or the viewer, he is the, or she is the highest authority. According to liberal art, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, in the feelings of the person watching or seeing the painting, the architecture, the play, whatever it is. In 1917, in a very, very famous gesture, Marcel Duchamp took a urinal, said this is art, called it Fountain, signed his name, Marcel Duchamp, put it in a museum in Paris, said this is art, this is beautiful. And ever since then, in every introductory course to art history in university, they bring this image and the argument starts. Is it art? No, it's not art. Who determines what is art? Is it beautiful? It's not beautiful. And eventually, if you're liberals, you will reach the conclusion that art is whatever I define to be art. And beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Whatever I think is beautiful, it's beautiful. And nobody out there can come to me and say, you think it's beautiful, but it's not. There is some higher authority. If you think that this is art, beautiful art, and you're willing to pay millions of dollars for it, and it costs millions of dollars today, this fountain, then it's art. The same ideas also apply to the field of ethics. How do you know if an action is good or evil, if it's ethical or unethical? Well, suppose I live in the Middle Ages, and I fall in love with another guy. And I go to the priest and tell him in confession, this and this happened. So the priest will say, this is very evil, what you have done. You'll go to hell for this. Why? Because God thinks it's evil. Because scriptures say it's evil. Because I, the priest, say this is evil. And then I say to the priest, but I feel very good about it. So the priest would say, but we don't care what you feel. Your feelings are unimportant. You don't determine what is good or evil by what you feel. Then come liberalism in the modern age and say, no, the highest authority in the field of ethics is also the feelings of individuals. There's nothing beyond that. If it feels good, do it. If you feel good about it, if everybody feel good about it, that there is absolutely no reason in the world why it should be evil or bad.
This will probably be the end of part one, but I'm going to discuss his little rant about feelings. So, Jeremiah 17, 9 and 10. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? The Lord searched the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. So, Yuval just wants you to still live according to how you want, which people are going to do. But he wants you to forget that the Lord is searching your heart to see how you really feel. And did you just put the Lord away? Because everybody knows that God is there. People just turn their back on him because he's not doing what they want him to do or telling them not to do things that they want to do. So this is what he's doing. He's saying, listen to your feelings. Though the Bible says the heart, meaning your feelings, are deceitful. How many times have everybody out have people known someone out there to listen to their heart and say in their heart, I just believe this is what I should do. You know, my feelings, I just feel a certain way about it. And this is the way it should be. Only for those same people to turn around and say, I was wrong. But you let this man tell it to you. Listen to your heart and listen to your feelings. When Oprah Winfrey was getting molested, she said one of the hardest things for her to understand she was being molested is that it felt good. So it made it difficult for her to understand that being molested was wrong because her feelings made her think, this must be right. It must be right. Let the song say, if loving you was wrong, I don't want to be right. Because people are listening to their feelings and their heart about how to live life. And it's just not the way you should do things. You know, talk to the heroin addicts and see what they say about how heroin makes them feel. At least, body-wise, it makes them feel pretty good. They turn around and look at their life, and they might not feel so good about that part. Or how about go talk to the crackheads and see how they said crack made them feel. Maybe you talk to them after they was done with the crack and see how that made them feel. Talk to them after they were some junkies and they all thought that doing crack was cool. And they asked their friends, oh, this is fun, it's fun, it's fun. Can't be anything better than this. Only for them to change their minds down the road. You know, something else Alice Bailey has said, at least that she said allegedly, though I believe the person who showed me this. Alice Bailey said that people should be able to have sex with whoever they want. People should be able to have sex with dogs and kids and animals and whatever else you decided you wanted to do. She said if a man can walk away from having a child, then a woman should be able to have an abortion. That's a woman's way of walking away. Get it? Her way of walking away, like a man does, and saying, I don't want anything to do with that. It's just to get rid of it. Instead of taking care of something and having responsibility for the actions, right? At least that's how some of us feel, right? Everybody doesn't feel that way. She also said, like I said, back to the thing about what determines if you're doing harm to someone else. That's a question that has to be answered. What's harm? What hurts? What's proper behavior in society, in private, whenever, at whatever time? What's proper depending upon where you are and what's going on? You know, my father once said, integrity is doing the right thing even when nobody's looking. How about that? It's doing the right thing even when nobody is around to see you. Even though the Lord says he saw you anyway. Integrity is doing the right thing even when nobody's looking. But we'll pick this up in part 2. All right?